Zoo Mama. Tucker and I are back again with another tier list video. This time we are ranking every single 5 cost card in Marvel Snap. How are you doing today, Tucker?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic today, Docty. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just want to let the viewers know the S tier cards in this list might surprise you.
Ooh, that is. I think you might surprise me. That is a spicy statement. I gotta see what hot takes you got. And so we are going to be rating every single card that costs 5 in Marvel Snap from S tier to F tier. S tier is cards that consistently produce amazing value, game winners, see play in many metas, whether right now or in the recent past, and we would not be surprised to see them nerfed. A tiers are just great cards. They produce good, consistent value, often see play in high level meta decks. B tier, these cards are good, not necessarily consistent game winners, but they're solid. They add a little something something to some strong decks. And then C tier is where we start seeing some more questionable cards. You know, these cards are often easily replaceable, or they're just very niche, don't fit like a really strong deck. Maybe they just fit in a weaker archetype. And then F tier is our please buff category. These cards we think are really not even viable. You don't have much reason to play them, and we really want to see them buffed because they need a little bit of love. So I will show every single card with its ability and stats and all, and then we will go and put them on the list. We'll do it in alphabetical order. So why don't we go ahead and get started with Abomination. Now he's a 5'9", with no ability as a base, so he works with Patriot, but we will also consider his evolved form with high evolutionary, in which case he gets cheaper, -1 cost for every card on your opponent's side of the board that has reduced power. So where do you think Abomination fits on the tier list?
I think there is an argument for him to be B tier,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see that the validity there. But I think holistically, you do have to hit your opponents with negative power
Yep.
in order to maximize them. I think it might be a top of C tier kind of card for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. He obviously is best, I think, in high Evo instead of Patriot. He's a bit expensive for Patriot, and 5'11 is nothing to write home about. But high Evo decks don't need him. Often he doesn't make the cut. He's like one of the weakest, if not the weakest, evolved card. So I think C tier is a good spot for him because he's not useless, but he's not needed. All right, next up, we've got Adam
Oh.
Warlock, and this card's become a bit of a meme recently. He was unplayable as a 2/0. They changed him to 5'4 with the same ability, still unplayable. Now he's a 5'5, still seems unplayable. Is he still F tier? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he is totally still F tier. Until they make him a 4 drop, I think that's the only way you can make him somewhat viable.
Yeah, he needs something. I don't know what it is. They seem dedicated to making him better, which is good, but we obviously haven't come to that point where he's gotten significantly better yet. All right, next up we have Arrow. Arrow used to be like one of, if not the best cards in the game about a year ago, and they did give her a small nerf, and then they, buffed her power back, but they changed her ability. She now just moves the last enemy card that was played and revealed. I think she's good. Is she B tier?
Yeah, I think low and B tier,
Uh huh.
not only just because of her ability, but I think as a 5'9 that actually has an ability opposed to like A bomb, you have to have another card in your list for A bomb to be good.
Right.
I think the value for her just puts her above A bomb because we have A bomb kind of as like top of C tier. So I like her at B.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. She's independent. You put her in a
Hmm.
deck, regardless of your other cards or locations, she will add value. She doesn't rely on specific cards, but she does have synergies, which is nice. All right, next up, we've got Annihilus. Annihilus really took over, not necessarily the full junk package king that people expected, but he just paired up with Sentry, and that went in like a bunch of decks. Just Sentry, Annihilus in the hood, just this junk package that took over more so than just a full clog list. And he's been awesome. He's still really strong. At least A tier easily. I don't think you can say he's lower than A. Where do you have Annihilus?
I think he's S tier.
Ooh.
I know. It's a last time we did a tier list with some stuff we didn't have him S tier, but I think the overall value you can add, like it makes Hazmat actually more viable for you. It makes Debris
Yeah.
more viable in that same sense too. And like we're talking about S tier cards being cards that can single handedly win you the game. Annihilus is one of those cards that can single handedly win you the game. So I think I like the S tier. Maybe not the best 5 drop
Uh-huh.
in the current meta, but I think he's definitely got a spot in S tier.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for S or A, so we'll put him S tier now.
Hmm.
If later on, towards the end of the list, if we decide to move some things around, we can reevaluate. But I think S or A are the only two possible homes for him. He's a great card. Then we've got Black Bolt, who used to be at the top of the meta, no longer has that throne. He's a 5/7, still discards the lowest cost card. Is he B tier? He seems not horrible, but just not amazing.
I think he's B tier and above Arrow in the sense that with Arrow you move your opponent's last played card, but you've already seen what card was last played, or like they just put it on the board. Whereas Black Bolt, you literally alter someone's combo by
Uh
making
huh.
them not able to have the card at all.
All right, next we've got Black Panther, former season pass card. Is he B? Is he C? I mean, he has his wombo combos, but he's never really, been like meta. How do you place him?
I think we put him low end B. I think we put him below Arrow. He's got the potential to get absolutely yoked
Yeah.
and like control games, but like that's two different decks opposed to like super flexible. So I think like the argument for a good instead of great makes sense there.
Yeah, and Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi exists.
Shang-Chi does
If he
exist
ever gets
if
big,
he
he
keeps
gets
going.
wrecked.
Yeah.
Then we've got Blue Marvel. Great in Cerebro decks, great in Zoo, see some play in Thanos. To me, this seems like a higher B tier, maybe low A, high B. What do you think?
I think definitely a high B tier. I think it enables you to be able to get onto some of these other lanes. And like
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking about like the meta currently too, like Blue Marvel definitely holds value against a lot of control, which is what we'd seen a lot of these past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But with the addition of War Machine now, I think control is going to be on the bit of a back burner. So instead of him having probably the argument for A tier, I like the top of B.
Next up, we have Cannonball. Very, very new card. A bit hard to evaluate because he's so new. I don't think he's F tier. I don't think he's good necessarily either. I have him in C. How do you think of him so far? I know it's just been like a little over a week since he's been out.
I think the overall value you get from Cannonball opposed to like a Juggernaut actually is kind of substantial. Because it is a targeted move card opposed to just a random
Yeah.
move. So like that's good. It's still like maximum value. You're thinking you're getting the rock in its place, but I think it's the disrupt you like. So I
Mm-hmm.
like the argument for either a top of C or like a. We'll just do top of C for now. We'll see how the list kind of fizzles out, but I definitely think it's better than A bomb.
Yeah, I agree. He's better than Abomination. Yeah, you can't really count on him killing stuff, but
Yeah.
you can count on him moving the biggest thing. It is better than Stegron, right? Because it's not a random move,
Hmm.
it's a targeted move. So he's better than Stegron. He's not F tier for sure. Then we've got Darkhawk. Wow, now a 5 cost Darkhawk. I've seen him a little bit since he got changed. Not too much, and he would have been nice during all this Thanos meta if you could put rocks in your opponent's decks. But we
Hmm.
haven't seen him too much, and so Thanos has been enjoying that. Where do you have 5/4 Darkhawk? He's still a powerhouse. He's just not so like flexible and easy to slide in.
So unfortunately, he loses his A tier status, and I think he's a B tier card now. I
I think
think
that's fair.
it's just so combo dependent too. Like your opponent either has to have dead draws or you have to pump their decks with rocks in order to get his value. Um, he is bigger at 5/4, but it's just not the same as when he was 4 cost.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We will go ahead put him in. You think he's below Blue Marvel, above?
I'd say below Blue Marvel because of how combo heavy he still is.
Sounds good to me. All right, next up we've got Devil Dinosaur, another big 5 cost ongoing powerhouse. Now very similar to Darkhawk. Where do we got the good old Devil Dino that everyone knows and loves from the early days of Marvel Snap?
So Devil Dino is better than Darkhawk now, especially even though Darkhawk has one more power. I think with the way the meta is shaping up now, you can still use Devil Dino more than you can use Darkhawk because of like a lot of these interactions. And like if you think of how good Loki is right now,
Yep.
if you're playing Sandman, Sandman's even good with Devil Dino. Old Thanos used to rock him too. So I'm thinking still like B tier, but like above Darkhawk, B tier.
Next up, we've got Dr. Octopus. This is just an easy S tier. What do we think? Just no
I
question, right?
think
No question.
I think even though we got Doc D here, I think there's kind of an argument for Doc Ock to be in A tier.
No.
No,
No.
I think he's B tier. I think Doc Ock's B tier.
You think he's
He's not
B?
C tier.
You don't think he's C?
No, I think the intel you can still get and still can kind of offset your opponent's plays, and maybe pull a Shang-Chi away from that you might need on a different lane later. I think that puts him at like a low end B tier. He's better than Cannonball.
I
He's
think
better
he's better than
than
Cannonball.
A-Bomb.
He sees play a bit paired alongside Galactus, or sometimes recently we've seen even some Thanos stacks with the ramp out. I guess we can have him low B, but I want to reevaluate the end. Don't get me wrong, I love Dr. Octopus, I play him sometimes, he's fun, but man, he pulls Shang-Chi all day, and that is not good news. So where do you think he's better or worse than Black Panther?
Worse than Black Panther.
Alright.
He's on the cusp of B tier if he's in C tier.
Yeah, I agree. He's somewhere right around there. He's not F tier, but he's not A.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Gamora, now a 5'8" that gets +4. She used to be a 5'7" that got +5. So she still hits a cap of 12, but her floor is now 1 power higher. If she misses, she's a 5'8". B, C, where do we have her?
I like B. I like her B tier. I think 512. I know you have to hit 512, but
Yeah, but you play in a deck that encourages that, like with Jean Grey or some kind of, clog or junk something, where you know where your opponent's gonna play. Where in B tier are we thinking?
I'm thinking above Devil Dino.
All right, A tier's looking pretty empty still. Next up, we've got Hobgoblin. So obviously great synergy with Ravana, great synergy with Galactus, Daredevil, and Junk decks. This kind of looks like another B tier card for me. He has a home. It's pretty niche. Like you only really play him in those archetypes I just mentioned, but he works well in those archetypes. He's very effective. What do you think?
I like the B tier, and I think maybe right below Gamora.
All right. We're about to get a good one here. This is a nice one here.
Juicy.
Iron Man. When you first start playing, it's like this insane ability. Like when you're new, you're like, holy crap, he doubles power. Like that's nuts. And then you kind of stop playing him for a while because you realize it's like hard to set up. He costs a lot. But then later on, you just get way more synergies. Good in ongoing Tribunal decks. Good with Mr. Negative, Ravana. He's just a good card. Cerebro uses him. Is he A tier?
Yeah, I think he's A tier. I think just what he adds to your decks and what you can do with him. Even Bounce is playing him now too. Like,
Yeah.
I think he just allows you to scale vertically in some of your lists where you're not achieving that power to kind of like take over games. I think he's definitely our first A tier card.
Okay, I like it. All right, next up, we've got Jane Foster. Where do you have Jane?
I have Jane in A tier. I think the value you have to have 0 cost cards in your deck, yes.
Yeah.
But Mr. Negative, you draw Jane Foster, you pretty much win the game, and your
Oh
opponent
yeah,
has to respect the Jane
that's a
retreat.
done deal once Jane hits the board.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, I just lose. And with the hammers for the matchup for like Asgardians, even some people have been running Jane with like pixie lists, which also can get you some good value too. I really like Jane, and I think the stat line at a 5'8" is really solid too. So
Yeah.
I think I just like the A. I think she like the value you can get from Blue Marvel. I think if we were to go back, we maybe put him in a low A tier. But we'll get that bridge at some point.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Her power is good on the board. If you see your opponent play Thor or Better Ray Bill, you're expecting Jane Foster in 5. So you're like, okay,
Hmm.
they're going to draw their hammers. But also, like, wait, where are they going to put this 8 power? Like, I got to worry about that too.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, it's a threat. And so in the packages she's played, which isn't a ton, she's a bit
Hmm.
niche, but she's vital in those packages. She's insanely vital. So I like it. Next up, we've got Kang the Conqueror. This
Mm-mm.
card has been a meme since he got released. Is this on record for the most overhyped card of all time? I mean, this guy had tons of hype. Everyone thought he was going to be game breaking. And it turns out he did break the game when they first released him, and
Hmm.
they had to like patch it, and then he's game losing. Is he the biggest flop in Marvel Snap history?
He is probably the biggest flop in Marvel Snap history for sure.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's why
so.
we put him in F tier because he's just bad.
Easy F tier doesn't just need a buff; he needs a full rework, and
Hmm.
he's needed it for about a year now.
Yeah, literally a year.
They must be cooking something good. Yeah, they're taking their time on.
Yeah, they're waiting until Kang Dynasty comes out.
Yeah,
Like,
wait till a movie comes out.
yeah.
All right, next up we've got Claw, a nice early ongoing card that does see a loss of play as you get to a higher level, especially once Miss Marvel came out. He's still okay. Is he C tier? I
I
don't think he's
hate to
F.
put him in C tier, but he is a poor man's Miss Marvel and way more
Yes.
constricted.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we gotta put him in C tier.
Where is he going? Is he above or below Abomination?
He's above Abomination. Because that's a 5'10 still if you play him left or middle.
He is a
Or
5'10.
it's-
Yeah,
yeah.
Claw back in the day, he was my homie. You know, you surprise your opponent. But you're right. He's a poor man's Miss Marvel. Even now,
Hmm.
Omega Red is better than him. Omega Red adds more power to the board because he has better stats on himself. So,
Omega Red's yeah, because Omega Red hits 2 different lanes opposed to just one.
yeah, he adds +6, but Omega Red himself is like a 4
Hmm.
5 or 4 6. So,
Yeah.
they need to maybe give Claw a little help if they want to make him strong again. All right, then we've got Lady Deathstrike, released as a 5-3, was very, very quickly buffed to a 5-4. Hasn't been touched since, does not see a ton of play, but I don't think she's the worst. She's kind of this weird destroyed tech card that could surprise some people. Is she C tier also?
She is C tier. I do love me some Lady Deathstrike though.
Yeah,
Like if you like if they were to buff her power at all, she becomes immediately B to borderline A tier
I
at
agree.
a
It's a hard
5/5.
line to cross. Even if they
Yeah.
just made her like a 5 power, like any one power
Hmm.
boost, her power scales up like crazy. Her
Yeah.
viability. So, where in C tier? Is she under Cannonball, above?
I think she's under Cannonball still
All
because
right.
she is more niche.
Yeah. All right. Then we've got Leech. Leech has been nerfed a couple times in pretty recent memory. He now has an on reveal ability again. It used to be on reveal, then it wasn't. Now it is, and now he only removes text from on reveal cards in your opponent's hand. But he could come out early now. You could slap him down on turn 4, and he would work at the start of turn 5. So kind of a trade off there. It's hard to evaluate Leech. I haven't seen him played much because he just got nerfed. But man, this guy's a total zombie. He will come back at some point. Where on the tier list is he? It's hard for me to judge him.
He used to be A borderline S tier because of
Yeah,
what he could do with everything. I think he's B tier now. But it's like a low in B tier because it's only on reveal abilities opposed to literally everything.
right.
But you can't. I mean, if Lockjaw was cheaper, you would be able to play him on Lockjaw again and again, again.
That's true.
I think. Bless you, by the way. I think you sneezed. Maybe I don't know.
Appreciate it. All right, I will put Leech in. Are we thinking below Arrow, around Darkhawk? Where do you have Leech?
What if we put him above Black Bolt?
Okay, right here.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah, he hasn't seen play right now because he just got nerfed, but there will be a time he will come back. He always finds his way back into the meta somehow, some way. All right, next up, we've got my current favorite card. I have been putting Legion in absolutely everything. I'm trying to stockpile boosters for his Flaviano variant in May. I'm literally playing Legion in every deck. I've been playing him in Surfer, everything. He's my favorite card. I think he is great. He's better in Conquest than Ranked Mode, probably. I
Mhm.
think he's at least easy A tier is where I have him. What do you think?
Yeah, anything to be able to alter locations, not just one location, but all three
Right.
locations, makes you a crazy card, and the stat line is still awesome. You can either
Solid
swing it
stats.
into your power or to just negate your opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like him at A tier.
All right. Do we have him? I have him above Jane. Do you have him above or below Iron Man?
I think above Jane.
All right. Then we've got Modoc. We are, of course, rocking the best Taco Bell variant Modoc here. Um, where do we have Modoc on the tier list? Some discard decks don't run him, but the ones that do, he adds a ton of value, right? Insane. Is he A tier, high B, low A? What are we thinking?
I think he's at least A tier.
Okay, I agree.
Um, I think there's an argument that he is an S tier discard card, but not like an S tier overall card.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a fair assessment. Where in A tier do you have him?
I might have him actually above Legion.
All right. Yeah, he does add so much value to discard, and again, sometimes the discard lists change, but the ones he's in, he's insane. Great value. All right,
Just like
then
Taco Bell.
we've got Mockingbird. Now, also a new release this season. We've gotten a couple 5-cost cards this season, and she's been insane. She's been feeling kind of busted in Thanos decks. Now, if that does get nerfed, I don't know what happens. But is she just S tier already, or is she just really high A?
She's already S tier because like you flex her into Zoo, you flex her into Surfer, you can flex her into a destroy list that our homie Ika made. Like literally, High Evo Abomination is a poor man's
That's
Mockingbird with
true.
way more steps.
That's true. High of Abomination is the poor man's Mockingbird. And yeah, I agree. You know, S is for OP because of her success with Thanos, and even if Thanos goes away, we'll see what her success just in other decks looks like as a whole. But if they did nerf her, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, and that's what S
Mhm.
tier is for. These cards that are borderline OP, we would not be surprised if they get nerfed. I wouldn't be surprised if they touch Mockingbird. She immediately became the best card of the month, right? Like day one. We've got Nimrod. He's actually seen a bit more play with Shuri Nimrod decks. I've been seeing those a good amount. Um, B. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the argument for high B tier. The only way to like counter Nimrod is to Shadow King or Valkyrie him.
Yeah,
I mean, you could armor or Professor X. I guess there's a bunch of different ways you can counter him. But like, it is a menace when you have seen a Shuri Nimrod board because you have to
yeah,
literally calculate for your left, your right. If they destroy it again, there's a lot you have to do with Nimrod.
yeah. I agree. It's one of the big power decks that just laughs at Shang-Chi. It might be the only big power deck just play Shuri, go big, and we don't care
Hmm.
if our opponent has Shang-Chi. They can't use it, right? It's sometimes hard to deal with. So where in B tier do we have Nimrod?
Probably below Blue Marvel.
All right, perfect. Next up, we have Professor X. Used to be a 5-3, now he's a 5-1. He does work with Ravonna, but War Machine just came out, so that may change his dynamics a bit, so it's kind of early. We literally had just War Machine coming out today as we're filming. Where do we have 5-1 Professor X? He's a bit hard to rank for me.
So I think the War Machine argument is interesting. You have to kind of, if it's a 6-turn game and your opponent's playing Professor X on 5, you have to either be in Conquest to play your War Machine to counter the Professor X, or you have to just predict where when Professor X is getting played.
That's true.
So I think Professor X does lose some of his ability to War Machine, but it's only really if you ramp out Professor X or if everyone's only playing War Machine on 5. So I
Yeah.
think he's still at least a B tier card, even with War Machine allowing you to do whatever you want.
And you think even without War Machine, you think he's B tier? You don't think he's jumped down to C yet? You think he's still okay?
Yeah, I think he's still okay. He's not top of B, top of A like he was when he was 5'3".
Yeah, he was great. Where in B tier do you have him?
I think you might want to. Yeah, I think below Leech is still valid. Maybe below Black Bolt.
All right, I like it. All right, next up, we've got Red Skull. Pretty much only cease play in Shuri Red Skull decks. You hit him with
Hmm.
Taskmaster after. It's still a huge power combo. Is that just solid B tier card right here?
Yeah, solid B tier card. If his downside was different, if it was the +1, I think
Yeah.
there's an argument for A. But since it's +2 with his negative ability,
Does he go right below Nimrod? I mean, right now we're seeing Shuri Nimrod. There's also Shuri Red Skull.
yeah, I think. Well, no, I put him above actually Nimrod. Because the difference between like Shuri Nimrod and Shimmy Red Skull is 16 power potentially,
Yeah,
and I'm kind of more scared sometimes of a Red Skull package.
that's true.
Um,
Especially if you didn't draw your Shang-Chi. Red Skull's much more scary, doubled up.
yeah, yeah.
All right, then we've got Ronin the Accuser. Ronin is now a 5/5, so this is another card like Devil Dino and Darkhawk, where he's a 5 cost card, ongoing, that gets plus power when something happens, and that's cards in your opponent's hand. You know, I don't think he's the worst card. His archetype is okay. It's fun to go back to every now and then. He works well with Sandman as well. If you prevent your opponent from playing cards, then they have more cards in their hand. Is he B tier?
Yeah, I think half, 3/4 of these 5 costs are going to be B tier by the end of this. But yeah, I think B tier
Do
is
you think he's
valid.
above or below Dino? Is he below?
He's below Dino.
But above
Because your
Darkhawk?
opponent has to have cards in their hand, whereas like Darkhawk, you have to combo more. I think you still Ronin above Darkhawk.
All right. All right. And then we have Sandman. Good if you can ramp him out. If you can't ramp him out, he's pretty expensive to play on curve. Where do you rank Sandman?
Even though like this meta right now is a lot of people just slamming multiple cards down, where Sandman may have value. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you're playing a Sandman list, you have to have your ramp for Sandman to work. So I think
Yeah.
Sandman overall he's not a bad card. So like him being in C tier, which is where I place him, isn't because he's bad. It's just the state of the meta right now. He's not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I used to play him a lot in
Hmm.
an Electro deck like a year ago when Electro ramp was like the only way to ramp. You'd play Electrode Wave,
Yeah.
and it was great. You get him on turn 4. But now, like, even if you got him out early, which it's already kind of hard to do, if you did get him out on turn 4, I don't know, you already might just be really far behind on board in tempo, just in the way power works, and then your opponent might still have big stuff to play, you know. Um, so where in C tier is he above Lady D?
Is it wrong for me to say he's above Cannonball in C tier?
I don't think so. I think Cannibal is hard to judge, and it's debatable. So I think Sandman's a tech option. So I think he could be above
Hmm.
Cannibal. Next up, we've got Sarah. Sarah to me is easy S tier. She has been the core of many, many meta decks over time. She's always kind of there, waiting around, sometimes a bit more popular than others. Sometimes she's paired with other discounts like Negative or Zabu. You know, she's had her Hitmonkey days, her Silver Surfer days, just her control, package days. Easy S tier?
Easy S tier.
Do
You
we
explained
have
it
her
perfectly.
above or below Mockingbird?
Below Mockingbird.
Below Mockingbird.
Any card that you can get out that's 9 power before.
A 0/9. A 0/9.
Yeah, that can't get Shang-Chi'd. Like,
That's true.
not great.
Sarah does get countered by Mobius too. She does have a real hard counter right
Hmm.
there. Mockingbird, well, Mockingbird does too. So I don't know, but you can get her out before Mobius. Then we've got Spider-Man 2099, who used to be a 4/6. As a 5/9, he's felt okay. I played him a little bit after they changed him to this cost and power, and I was getting decent value out of him. Like that 9 power on the board does do a lot. Obviously, he's only being played in move. Obviously, he's usually killing something not super great because it is random. Is he C tier? High C?
I think high C for stats. I still think I'd love to see his ability get changed.
Yeah,
But I like the 5/9. It's just like it's clunky for a move
it
card to
is
be 5
clunky.
cost, but
Where
you
in
can get
C
some
tier do you
value.
have him?
I have him below Cannonball.
All right, I think that's fair. Next up, we've got Spider Woman. I basically never see this card played. At worst, she's a 5'8". At most, she's a 5'12".
Hmm.
Kind of similar to Gamora, actually, but it's just hard to get her to 5'12", and she needs to reveal second, too. Where do you have Spider-Woman?
I think Spider Woman, honestly, stats alone, even if you're hitting one card, that's a 5'9".
Yeah.
Two cards to 5'10". Your only counters to Spider Woman are Luke Cage and Cosmo.
Uh-huh.
So you can still get solid value. I think you put her in B tier. Like she's a low B tier. Like I probably put her above Arrow.
When's the last time you played Spider-Woman?
I've actually played a couple of Spider Woman this past week. I've been seeing her in high Evo, and some
Oh!
people have just been actually using her as some like tech stuff.
High Evo to discount Abomination?
Mm-hmm. High Evo discount Abomination and some crazy stuff and junk too. You can get some value if you've clawed your opponent.
You think below Arrow?
I think I put her above Arrow.
Above Arrow? Okay, I'm surprised. You've been playing her so much, but that kind of makes sense.
I mean, I haven't been playing her. I've played against her.
Okay, well, that wasn't my question. My question was,
sorry. I thought you said,
time...
when's the last time you've seen her? And I was like, I've been played against her.
When's the last time you put Spider-Woman in your deck is my question.
Okay, well, I put her in high Evo like 3 months ago. So, like, It's been a minute since I played.
Okay, well, now we've got Stature. A 5'6" used to be at the top of the meta alongside Black Bolt, and then second dinner started dishing out some nerfs. Where do we have Stature on the tier list?
Discard is a very relevant archetype in the meta right now, so you can still get some Stature with Black Bolt. So you can still get some value with Stature if you don't have Black Bolt.
Yeah.
So I think she stays in B tier, I think, because that's a 1/6.
Where in B tier?
You put her above Spider-Woman.
All right.
And you can move Spider-Woman.
We'll move stuff at the end. All right. Now we've got Taskmaster. Doesn't see a ton of play, but has a very unique spot. Obviously, sees play in Shuri decks where he just lets you hit that Shuri bonus a second time because you copy the cost. It can work with Shuri Kitty or Shuri Red Skull. Where do you have Taskmaster? Is he A? Is he B?
Taskmaster's A tier. Also because of how popular the Deadpool Destroy archetype is, and Taskmaster copies that, as well as Phoenix Force.
Yes.
And you can even use it if you wanted to in some sort of Black Knight sort of iteration too. So I think he's pretty flexible. We're just only seeing him in like 2 different things at the moment.
Right. He doesn't seem combo oriented, but he can obviously produce huge value. Is he above or below Jane Foster?
He is below Jane Foster because he has to hit like your last card played.
That's true. All right. Next up, we've got Valkyrie. A pretty good tech card here. Obviously, if you're playing Cerebro 3, you might just run her already, but you see her sometimes just like a tech card. I think she's solid. I think she's at least B tier. Where do you have her?
I think there's honestly an argument right now for how good she is and to help you scale against all this big power coming down and a lot of armor play. And I think top B tier, low end A tier, because if you don't have Shang-Chi, she's honestly a better counter than Shadow King in some instances as well.
Yeah, she can be
she's
a very
expensive,
good counter.
But
all right, we'll put her top of B for now, and we'll reassess later. But she's a solid card. All right, and then we've got Vision, a nice 5'8", was 5'7" for the longest time. At 8 power, he feels really good. He's seeing a lot of play in Thanos right now because they ran him out early. But he also sees play in Shuri decks as like a backup if you don't draw something else and you want to move into a closed-off lane. Where do we have Vision?
I think he's A tier. I think there's a small argument for him to be S tier.
No,
just because I'm not saying I would put him in S tier. I'm just saying because he can go into like pretty much any lane. There's a lot of value there, especially the way Ramp's working out. But I think he's A tier, and I think he is above Jane Foster.
I think that's a good home for him.
Yeah,
he is a good card, and yeah, if you can move him into a lane that's hard to play on, you're pretty certainly going to win that lane if your opponent doesn't also have Vision, right? He's obviously beating out a Jeff, unless your opponent did another vision or they had War Machine something. Just adding
Yeah.
8 power to a hard lane is really valuable. And it's kind of mind games with your opponent. You know, they're like, where are they going to move that vision?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then we've got White Tiger, a 5/1 that will add an 8 power Tiger to another location. We've actually seen some just Wong White Tiger Odin decks because no one's playing Cosmo right now. I've seen that like twice today already. Where do you have White Tiger?
This card will never die. And it also gets Ravona value, which is actually pretty
Yes,
huge.
yes.
And which means you also can get some Grandmaster value. But I think White Tiger's a staple B tier card. Like,
I agree. Where in B tier?
do we put her above Hobgoblin?
I like it. I think that's fine. So now, looking at our list here, I feel like we maybe should move a couple of these down into C tier, down from B to C. Our B's looking a bit chunky here. What do you think?
You can move Doctor Octopus, and you can move Arrow down into C tier.
You keep Black Panther in B?
No, you can move Black Panther down to C. Can we move Darkhawk below Professor X?
I will move him down. I do not see too much Darkhawk, so that is a fine change for me. All right, well, we've got another great tier list here. Finished our 5-cost cards. Tuccrr, is there anything you want to say to the viewers?
You guys get ready for the 6-cost tier list video that we're gonna be making. It's gonna be an absolute banger. I just got a feeling, especially if we're making it like super soon, and your boy Red Hulk's on there. Just be on the lookout for some hot takes.
Boy. Oh
Just
boy.
want you guys to have a fair warning there.
Yeah, you are the hot takes guy out of the two of us. You are definitely the hot takes one. Well, I appreciate it, Tuccrr. If you guys don't know, Tuccrr streams over on Twitch. He's the up-and-coming pirate king of Twitch Snap content, and he's been growing his YouTube as well. His YouTube, putting out deck videos, growing at a rapid pace. So I will have his YouTube and Twitch linked in the description for this video. So as always, till then, stay positive, and I'll see you next time.